He never thought a wedding would change his life forever. Daniel, a quiet single dad with tired eyes and a heart long close to love, was only there because of a friend's invitation, a friend who insisted he needed a night out. He had no idea that somewhere between the laughter, music, and clinking glasses, a stranger in a white dress would reach out her hand and ask him to dance, before he even realized what was happening. And that one dance would make him question everything he thought he knew about second chances. Daniel stood at the edge of the dance floor, watching the bride and groom swirl under fairy lights. The hall was filled with joy, the kind that felt foreign to him. He adjusted his tie, one he hadn't worn since his own wedding years ago. He'd promised himself never to come to one again, too many memories, too much ache. But his best friend Jake wouldn't take no for an answer. "You've been hiding too long, man," Jake had said. "Come out, breathe a little." The world didn't end with her. But Daniel knew better. His world had ended the day Emily, his wife, passed away 5 years ago. The house had become silent except for his daughter Lily's laughter, the only light that kept him going. He worked long hours as a mechanic, cooked dinner every night, helped with homework, and then sat alone once Lily went to bed, staring at the empty chair across the table. He had made peace with loneliness, or so he thought. As the music played, Daniel found himself scanning the crowd, couples dancing, friends laughing, a few strangers clinking glasses. His heart ached, but he smiled faintly. He was happy for the newlyweds. Love, he thought, was something beautiful, just not for him anymore. Then she appeared across the room. A woman in a soft lilac gown was standing alone, her back straight but her eyes distant. She looked familiar, though he couldn't place her. Maybe it was the quiet strength in her gaze, or the sadness she tried so hard to hide. Their eyes met, just for a second, but it felt like the world paused. She smiled politely, then looked away. Daniel turned back to his table, feeling oddly unsettled. He took a sip of his drink, trying to focus on the laughter nearby. But the band started playing a slow song, and suddenly, she was walking toward him. He blinked, unsure if she was really approaching him. When she stopped in front of him, he noticed how her hands trembled slightly. "You're not dancing," she said softly. He chuckled awkwardly. "I don't really dance." Her lips curved into a gentle smile. "Neither do I. But maybe tonight, we should both try." Before he could reply, she reached out her hand, "Steady now," and said, "Dance with me, before you notice." Something about her words, that quiet urgency, the way her eyes seemed to hold something deeper than a flirt, it disarmed him. Without thinking, Daniel placed his hand in hers. Her touch was warm, grounding. And in that moment, something in him, something long buried, stirred back to life. They moved slowly, awkwardly at first. She guided him, smiling when he stumbled. "Relax," she whispered. "It's not about steps, it's about moments." He looked at her, then really looked. Her name was Claire, she said. "A photographer, recently back in town after years abroad." She wasn't part of the wedding either, just a guest of a friend. Her laugh was soft, her eyes kind but tired, as if she'd seen her own share of heartbreak. As they danced, they talked about Lily, about her travels, about loss and healing. Daniel found himself laughing again, feeling lighter than he had in years. For the first time, he didn't feel like a broken man trying to survive. He felt human. When the song ended, he hesitated to let go. But Claire smiled and said, "Thank you for not saying no." He chuckled, a little embarrassed. "You didn't give me much of a choice." "Sometimes," she said, "the best things happen before we notice." They parted ways after that, but Daniel couldn't stop thinking about her. The way her words lingered, the warmth of her hand, it felt like hope, something he thought he'd lost. Days turned into weeks. Life went back to routine as school runs, work, dinner with Lily. But every time he heard music, he remembered that dance. One afternoon, while taking Lily to the park, he saw her again. Claire, sitting on a bench with a camera, capturing children playing in the sun. Lily ran up to her, curious about the camera, and Claire laughed, letting her take a picture. When Daniel approached, she smiled. "You again," she teased. "I could say the same," he replied. From that day, they began meeting often, sometimes by chance, sometimes by choice. Claire and Lily grew close. They painted together, baked cookies, told stories. Daniel started to see life through Lily's eyes again, full of small joys he had forgotten to notice. But just as things began to bloom, Claire grew distant. She stopped answering calls, stopped coming by. Daniel didn't understand until one evening she showed up at his door, pale and trembling. "I'm sorry," she said. "I should have told you. I'm sick, Daniel. I didn't want to pull you into something that might end." He stared at her, heartbreaking. "You think I care about that? I don't want to be another loss for you." He stepped closer, taking her hand. "You already are, if you walk away." That night, they didn't speak much. They just held each other, listening to the quiet hum of life around them. In that silence, Daniel realized something: love isn't about forever. It's about moments that make forever worth remembering. Months passed, and Claire's condition stabilized. She was weak, but she fought, and Daniel stayed by her side. Lily called her "my dancing lady." And on a warm evening in spring, at another wedding, this time their own, Claire smiled through tears as Daniel whispered, "Dance with me, before I notice." And under the same kind of lights that once brought them together, they danced, two broken souls who found healing not in perfection, but in the courage to take each other's hand, even when life was uncertain, because sometimes, love doesn't need to be planned or promised. Sometimes, it just needs a single moment and the courage to say yes before you notice.